The Marsan pavilion was built in 1666 by Louis Lefuel, Louis XIV's architect for the Louvre. It was intended to complete the Tuileries Palace with a pavilion at the north end, which would be identical to that at the south end. This was certainly the result on the facade which faced the Tuileries Gardens. There were 3 floors with 6 windows each. 4 pilasters of the colossal order divided them on the lowest 2 floors into pairs of windows. The ground floor windows had pediments, triangular for the outer pairs, curved for the inner pair. Above them, a rectangular stone panel containing 2 attic windows and a carved rectangular plaque supported a carved and curved pediment. In later depictions, other dormer windows have been added. Both pavilions were apparently of the same size, but the design of the side views was different. The south river side of the pavillon de flore had on each of the 3 floors 4 windows and a pedimented central niche containing a statue. On the ground and first floors, a pilaster of the colossal order was on each side of the outer windows. A pair of pilasters thus framed the 2 inner windows and the central niche. On the ground floor, all the windows were pedimented. The outer windows had a triangular pediment and the inner windows a rounded pediment. Windows of the first and second floors had no pediment, but the central niche on the first floor had a rounded pediment and on the second floor a triangular pediment. 4 stone urns crowned the tops of the 4 pilasters, and between them a rectangular stone-carved panel containing 3 rectangular carved plaques supported a carved and curved pediment. In later depictions, 2 attic windows replace the 2 outer plaques, and further dormer windows have been added at the corners. There are far fewer depictions of the north side of the pavillon de Marsan, facing the Rue Saint-Honoré, presumably because it was less picturesque, with no river and no bridge. It is more often shown after the Tuileries fire of 1871. It's clear from these images that the north side had on each of the 3 floors only 3 windows and no niches at all. The 4 colossal order pilasters are in pairs, which separate the 3 windows. There seems to be nothing to indicate what attic windows there were. Some photographs suggest the pavilion may have had as many as 6 chimneys by this time. The pavilion was sometimes called the pavillon de Pomone. Pomona was the Roman goddess of fruits and gardens, and the pavilion sculptures, representing aspects or attributes of Pomona, were appropriate to their proximity to the Tuileries Gardens. Otherwise, it was designated by a purely topographical name, such as the pavilion on the Saint-Honoré side, before the Rue de Rivoli was constructed along the north side of the Louvre. In the 18th century, the pavilion was named after Madame de Marsan, 1720 to 1803, who lived there from 1754 to 1776 as governess to the children of France, Louis XV's children and grandchildren. The ground floor of the pavilion was occupied from 1789 to 1790 by Adélaïde de France, daughter of Louis XV, who was born in 1732 and died in 1800 in Trieste. Adélaïde and her sister Victoire had managed to emigrate in 1791. There is no evidence that the pavilion was inhabited under the Emperor Napoleon I. Under the Restoration, the pavilion was the residence of the Duchesse de Berry, daughter-in-law of King Charles X. She had been born Princess Marie Caroline of Bourbon to Sicilies in 1789, and married Charles Ferdinand, Duc de Berry, in 1818. He was assassinated in 1820, and thereafter she lived from 1820 to 1830 in the pavilion de Marsan. During this period, her daughter, Louise d'Artois, Duchess of Parma from 1849 to 1854, also lived there. The Duchess's son, Henri d'Artois, 1820 to 1885, Comte de Chambord, who was born there, became the legitimate heir to the throne of France, known to his partisans as Henri V. They all went into exile when Louis-Philippe was declared king. Some of Louis-Philippe's family lived in the pavilion de Marsan too. The Duc and Duchesse de Nemours lived there. The Duc, 1814 to 1896, was Louis d'Orléans, second son of Louis-Philippe. So did the Duc and Duchesse d'Aumale. The Duc, 1822 to 1897, was Henri d'Orléans, fourth son of Louis-Philippe. So did Philippe d'Orléans, Comte de Paris, 1838 to 1894, son of Ferdinand Philippe d'Orléans, who was the eldest son of Louis-Philippe. There are a few images which give an idea of the interior decor of the pavilion de Marsan at this time. The watercolour by Léopold Ielli of the Duchesse de Berry's antechamber in the pavilion de Marsan, dated 1830, had on the back, when it changed hands at Sotheby's, several pieces of information, including a photograph of the same room. In the painting, it is the Duchesse de Gontaut who is seated at the desk. She was lady-in-waiting to the Duchesse de Berry and governess of the children of France. The photograph is taken from a slightly different spot, and the room is slightly differently arranged. There is a circular table in the middle, and the door is open to reveal an enfilade of rooms. The mirror over the fireplace reflects a different object. In the room are the parents of the Duchesse de Berry. Her father, King Francesco I of the Two Sicilies, is seated in front of the glass-fronted cabinets. Her stepmother, Princess Maria Isabella of Spain, is seated at the desk. Looking at them, almost imperceptible at the far right of the photograph is a young woman, perhaps the Duchesse de Berry herself. In the painting of the Soirée chez le Duc d'Orléans, Ferdinand Philippe, the Duke, eldest son of Louis Philippe, in uniform, is seen with his back to the fireplace. His wife, Hélène de Mecklenburg-Schwerin, in white, is seated in front of us. The painting is dated 1843, but the Duke was actually killed in a road accident in 1842. His death was abundantly mourned pictorially. France declared war on Prussia on July the 19th, 1870. Napoleon III expected a quick victory. On the 2nd of September, the Emperor and over 100,000 of his troops were taken prisoner at the Battle of Sedan. Paris was besieged and isolated by the Prussian army from September 1870 to January 1871. The Paris Commune, a revolutionary movement, fought against the Versailles government from March to May 1871. On May the 23rd, 1871, incendiary fires were set by 12 members of the Commune at the Tuileries Palace, with petroleum, turpentine and gunpowder. The interiors and roof were completely destroyed, and the palace was left as a lifeless shell. The empire had been overthrown and the Third Republic inaugurated. Various projects to rebuild the Tuileries were proposed, but the Republican government finally decided in 1883, probably on political grounds, to demolish the ruins completely. Hector Lefuel, despite the change in government, remained the architect of the Louvre, and before the demolition of the Tuileries, he had rebuilt the pavilion de Marsan, copying his design for the pavilion de Flore, with a new south front where the Tuileries had been. Changes to this design are few. The external carved decoration becomes ever more elaborate as the eye moves upward. The corners of the building are rusticated. On the west front, facing the Tuileries Gardens, there are 5 windows on all 3 main floors. The 3 inner windows form a slight projection forward, which separates them from the 1 window on each side. The windows are high and rectangular. On the ground floor they are curved at the top, with a grotesque head in the centre of the curve. The frieze above includes the letter R for Republic, more emphatically than the N for Napoleon on the pavilion de Flore. On the ground floor, the 3 central windows have a single balcony. The outer windows have a balcony each. The balconies are supported by stone lions' heads and closed with a wrought iron grille. On the first and second floors, the outer windows have carved frames. On the projecting central part, the 3 windows are separated by fluted pillars, the bottom third cabled. The ensemble of 3 windows is flanked by pairs of flat pilasters, each pair framing a carved stone panel. The 6 central windows on these 2 floors all have balcony grilles. On the attic floor there are 5 square windows. The inner 3 are separated by statues of sentinels by Jacques-Léonard Maillet. The corners of the building are rusticated to the top of the second floor. Above it they are richly carved and carry stone urns. Above the 3 central square windows are 3 circular ones, their upper halves surrounded by carving. But they do not have the initial ends which top them on the pavilion de Flore. These 3 circular windows stand in the gap formed by a broken curved pediment. They support a further curved pediment which carries a sculpture by Jean-Marie Bonacieux, representing the wise man welcoming truth and repulsing error. The north and south sides of the pavillon de Marsan are identical in design, though with different statues. They are also identical to the north side of the pavillon de Flore. They have 4 windows instead of 5. On the ground floor they resemble those on the west facade, facing the Tuileries Gardens. The first and second floors both have the same design. The outer windows are separated from the inner pair by pairs of flat pilasters, flanking a panel of carved stonework, narrower than that on the west facade. The inner windows are separated from each other by statues in niches topped by a curved pediment. The inner windows on the first floor have a balcony grille. The north side has statues of eloquence by Charles Gautier and of an unidentified allegorical figure by Charles Jean-Marie de Georges. On the south side, the Marsan pavilion has on the first floor a figure by Maximilien Bourgeois, and on the second floor a similarly female figure by Pierre Loison. The south river side of the pavillon de Flore differs from the other three in that the niches are not real and contain no statues. At the attic level, the 4 square windows are centered on a sculptural group. On the north side, it is by Ernest Barrias. On the south side, it is by Eugène de la Planche. Both sculptures feature a female figure surrounded by cupids, some of whom are opening a book for her. Both groups are badly damaged. De la Planche's female's arms have broken off. She has a bowl or urn on her left side, above the head of the Cupid opening the book. Barrias's female figure is seated in an armchair. The round windows above are of the same design as on the west facade, except that the central one is not a window, but displays a plaque dating its construction to 1874 to 1878. The pediments are similarly arranged too. On the north facade is Strength and Prosperity under the Rule of Law by Gustave Croc. On the south side is The Winged Lion by Théodore Charles Gruyère, with copper wings. There is a pediment too on the east side, overlooking the Marsan wing, running east to west, but it is a small and insignificant one, looking rather like a fireplace on the side of the chimney. The arrangement of the chimneys is symmetrical, if not identical. Those of the Pavillon de Marsan pay homage to the Republic. Those of the Pavillon de Flore pay homage to Napoleon III. Lefuel's responsibility did not end with the reconstruction of the Pavillon de Marsan, nor did perhaps his ambition, nor did the Republic's supply of funds. Lefuel continued his redesign along the wing stretching eastward behind the pavilion and facing northward and southwards. This wing had been started at the same time as the Pavillon de Marsan by Lefuel, but only one bay was built. This bay was little more than a ruin in the 18th century. In this engraving, the bronze horses from St. Mark's in Venice are standing on pedestals along the grille which marks the limits of the Tuileries Palace. The Carrousel triumphal arch is not yet in place. This suggests some time between 1801 and 1806, though of course the artist may not be depicting the place as it was at the time when he was depicting it. Percier and Fontaine's north wing has not yet been started. The same is true of the next engraving, cut by Legrand and drawn by Thomas Charles Naudet, 1775 to 1841. Though something has been built next to the one bay constructed by Lefuel. In another depiction of a Napoleonic military review, the same part of the Louvre Tuileries building is glimpsed. The wing was lengthened under Napoleon I by Charles Percier and Pierre-François Fontaine. It followed the pattern of alternating triangular and curved pediments observed in the facing north side of the Grande Galerie. In the hand-coloured engraving after a painting by Henri Courvoisier-Voisin, 1757 to 1830, the north wing, designed by Percier and Fontaine, appears again. The final junction of the Tuileries to the Louvre was not, however, completed until the time of Napoleon III. It is repeatedly said that the Percier and Fontaine wing copied the Grande Galerie wing. It is certainly true that the south side of this wing mirrored the north side of the Du Cerceau wing, with its colossal order of pilasters, but there seem to be no surviving images of the north side of Percier and Fontaine's wing. In depictions of the junction of the Louvre and the Tuileries, although the view may be from the north side, no details of its architectural design can be perceived. In the photograph by Baldus showing the new library pavilion, and in other images, the wing appears to have three sections. The one which is part of the library pavilion design, that which is part of the design of the Rouen pavilion, and that which joins the Marsan pavilion. On each side of the library pavilion there are, at the roof level, 11 dormer windows. At the first floor level are 11 tall rectangular windows separated by carved panels. At the ground floor level there are 11 arch-topped windows or doors, with rusticated voussoirs and with rusticated horizontal strips between them, and at the basement level lower square windows. The Rouen pavilion has on the ground floor one high archway in the centre, flanked by flat pilasters. On that floor there are three slightly lesser archways to each side of it, separated by statues in arched niches. The building is completed by a flat pilaster at each end. These 4 pilasters are echoed on the first floor by 4 similar pilasters. 7 high rectangular windows, separated by statues in arched niches, complete the first floor. The attic floor, though much less expansive, has similar pilasters and low square windows, separated by carved plaques. The long vista of the design from the Rouen pavilion to the Marsan pavilion has, at roof level, dormer windows. The second floor has rectangular windows, separated by statues in arched niches. The ground floor has broad arched windows, or doors, separated by statues in arched niches. The basement floor has square windows. Some of the niches are without statues, and others were not provided with statues until the 20th century. This last slide shows the Marsan pavilion and wing after their cleaning and restoration of windows and roofing from 2014 to 2018. Apart from repairs and cleaning, they appear to be the same today as they were before Lefuel's work. Perhaps Lefuel retained their original design, widening the wing and removing the colossal order on the other side, mirroring his design for the north side of the south wing. On the south side, Lefuel's design does follow that of his opposite north side of the south wing. There are 16 dormer windows over 8 curved pediments. The first and second floors have 17 windows each. On the ground floor, the pattern is of 3 windows, 1 door, 9 windows, 1 door, 3 windows. The doors follow the same pattern as the pillared doors opposite, but without the lions of the Porte des Lions. It is obvious where Lefuel's death in 1880 terminated the construction. It was before reaching the stage of copying the pavilion des États and the archways envisaged by the original plan. After the beginning of the Third Republic, there were no more royal personages to be housed in the pavilion de Marsan. There were at least 3 royal pretender families, but none of them reigned. The Louvre, henceforward, is nearer being wholly a museum, not partly a residence, partly a government office, and partly a museum. The Marsan pavilion, when rebuilt, was designed to be the headquarters of the Cour des Comptes. Its previous seat had been the Palais d'Orsay, destroyed by the fires of the Commune in 1871. Since 1912, it has been housed in the Palais Cambon, built for it from 1898. Lefuel designed the interior of the new Marsan pavilion as a spacious vestibule, 2/3 of which was taken up by a grand staircase. Added to this were 4 floors of offices for the bureaucrats. The Cour des Comptes, however, never took possession of this building except for the storage of its archives. The pavilion was then considered as a site for the Museum of Decorative Arts. The architect of the Louvre Museum was Gaston Redon, 1852 to 1921, much younger brother of the painter Odilon Redon. In 1903, he produced a project for the redesign of the Ministry of the Colonies, then housed in the southernmost wing of the Louvre. Assisted by Paul Laurin, official architect of the Central Union of Decorative Arts, he redesigned the Marsan Pavilion for the Musée des Arts Décoratifs from 1897. He demolished the grand staircase and 1 floor of offices to produce the nave. The new museum was partly opened in 1900 for the World Fair in Paris, and some spaces were opened in 1902. The library was opened in 1904, but the full inauguration was not celebrated until the 29th of May 1905. The Museum of Decorative Arts was closed from 1996 to 2006 for a €35 million refurbishment as part of the Grand Projet for the Louvre, which included the construction of the glass pyramid. Renovation also took place from 2014 to 2018. A glass ceiling has been created for the displays in the Museum of Decorative Arts, now entered either from the Rue de Rivoli or the Cour du Carrousel. It now includes rooms such as the Halle de Rouen, which can be hired out for private functions.